Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending Friday, February 22nd, 2019. And as we always do, bring up the disclaimer, urge you to read it, be aware that I'm not a professional investment advisor. So if you need professional advice on trading the market, you need to seek that out with a professional advisor. I simply do these videos for my own purposes, my own edification, and I put it up on YouTube. So if others want to take a look, they can. So let's begin by looking at the general market as we usually do, which is we're going to take a look at the weekly chart of the S&P 500. Now, before we get to the weekly, let's take a look at the monthly chart. As far as the monthly chart is concerned, you can see this pullback here found support at the 50-month moving average, this magenta line. And then the following month, we had a bullish piercing candle. What it means is that this candle here closed higher than 50% of the body of this candle. So you can see that this is a bullish piercing candle. And what followed was in February, this is January, in February we have this candle, which is now bumping up against the resistance of previous high here of 28.15 or so. So it seems as though as far as the monthly chart is concerned, we are getting a turnaround here. We know that from looking at some of the lower time frames. And if you look at the monthly chart, if you look at the MACD histogram, you can see that this month we are trending up. The histogram is shorter than this. If you want to take a look at the Williams percent R, we are still above the 50 line, the 50% line, and the sum of the rate of change indicator is above 4%, and RSI 12 is above the 40% line. So as far as the monthly chart goes, it's recovering nicely. We have this 28.15 line to cross because we're not going to surpass this high here until we pass this high, which is obvious. So let's see what happens in the coming week or months. And now we turn to the weekly chart. The weekly chart, you can see the 4 EMA crossed above the 9 way back here, somewhere here, and the 9 is above the 200-day, and there's the 50-day right there as well. So if you can't see it too well, you can see that the 9 crossed, the red line crossed above the green line, and that means that we are now confirming that uptrend on the weekly chart. Couple of things to look for. We want to get past this, as I mentioned on the monthly chart, get past this resistance level here in order to move higher and make all-time highs again. On the MACD histogram, you could see it trended up here. It's now in bullish territory. It continues to trend up. Williams percent R above the 50 magenta line. That's bullish. Some of the rate of change indicator pulled back a little below the 4% line, and RSI 12 is still above that 40%, which is key. That 40% line means we still have that uptrend and we're not in a bearish market right now. Let's look at the daily chart. Here's a daily chart of the S&P, and we can see that on Thursday we had a little bit of a pullback here, and then on Friday we had a nice bullish candle making a new high here. So again, the moving averages above each other, the 4, the 9, the 30. This is the 200-day moving average. It's nice to be closing above that for the first time. Well, last week, for a number of days last week, we closed above it, and that's very bullish. And we have the 50-day moving average right here. So daily chart is looking bullish as well. Insofar as MACD histogram is concerned, we are still in bullish territory. It pulled back a bit, but that is not too uncommon at all for MACD to trend back a bit. It doesn't mean that we are going into some negative territory. Not yet, anyway. And you can see that the Williams percent R is above the 50% line, and these other indicators are in bullish territory. So all in all, the market's still looking pretty bullish. A few of you may be, or some of you may be familiar with Jake Bernstein's work, and based on some of his work, I plotted this chart, which shows the Williams advanced decline line and the exponential moving average of 57. You can see that the advanced decline line crossed above the moving average here, and that's usually bullish. You can see that when it's above that moving average, we're pretty bullish territory. You can see how it broke down here, right here, which was what, October 10th. Earlier than that, October 8th or so. So just thought I'd show you that one. So if we take a look at some of the charts from stockcharts.com, and you know this familiar one. Remember when we dropped when the market came all the way down and made a low on the 24th of December, Alex sent us an email. He sent me an email saying, look, watch this 4,000 minus 4,000 level. Once this new high, new low index, which is what it is a new high, new low index, gets past that 4,000 minus 4,000 number again, we're going to have a tremendous move up, and we do. That's reflecting that move that we've had recently. We're still trending up here. Let's take a look at another chart that we usually look at, which is the Alex's impulse indicator. You can see we're on green bars here on the weekly chart, so we're not allowed to go short. This is pretty bullish. You could see MACD trending up here as we found before. And the last one is the McClellan oscillator, and you can see that the McClellan oscillator remains above the 50 and the 200-day averages. So all signals are bullish here, I think. So let's take a look at the Shaken Analytics charts, and we can see this is a list that I showed you last week. Frankly, all of these stocks have been up for the week. Evoya was down on Friday. All of these were up on Friday, and all of them were up for the week, I believe. I just checked them out. So this software seems to be very promising. I'm going to be using it more and more. Let's go to my list of the stocks that I keep, and you can see here, let's take a look at some of them. For example, Applied Materials, you know, the semis are starting to do well again, it seems, semiconductor stocks. And I think they'll do even better if somehow this Chinese-American trade war comes to some resolution. In any case, look at Applied Materials. Applied Materials meets all of the criteria that Shaken talks about, which is it's bullish, very bullish in fact. It's performing better than the rest of the market recently, the relative strength. Okay, it's oversold. So in fact, if we don't own it and wanted to buy, this is something we could look at. And here's the money flow. Money flow is positive. You see it's at the 21-day moving average here. It's not even at this overbought line up here. So I would put AMAT on my watch list and look to do some trading on it. I own this one, but it's been overbought. So you know, it's been overbought. I mean, I made some money already, but it's been overbought and it's pulling back a bit here. Still meeting all the other criteria of being bullish, the relative strength being strong, and the money flow being pretty good. So I won't sell it right here. It became overbought and now it's coming back to the 21-day moving average. I'm expecting it to move higher. Another one that I own is Facebook, but you can see all the green here, right? Facebook, I did buy Facebook again, and you can see, let's turn this off. You can see that except for the money flow, but the money flow is now getting more positive here. It's almost in the positive above zero. So it's bullish, and it's the relative strength is still positive, but it's now oversold on this indicator. and it's now at the 21-day moving average. So I'm holding it. So far, I have a little loss in it, okay? FTNT, which is Fortinet, it's a software company. Uh, it's up quite a bit since I bought it. Money flow is good. It's still overbought, but it could remain like that for a little while. And the relative strength is high, and it's in the same bullish category. So I have it. I might look to lighten up on it a bit because it's now overbought here, and it's likely to pull back. But it's above that 200-day long-term average anyway. We could take a look at Microsoft. I don't own it right now, but it's looking once again looking pretty good. Notice it closed above the long-term moving average. It's approximately a 200-day. But it's now in overbought territory, but money flow is very good. You see, it's not performing, it hasn't been performing as well as the market. But it turned bullish recently, so it may be one to, buy on a pullback. Paycom, I do own this one. It was oversold, and I bought it, and money flow is pretty good, and the relative strength is very nice, very strong, and it's now still bullish. Okay, so I own that one. Another one that I own is PayPal. I had too much of it, so with the help from a friend, I made some decisions to sell a lot. I had just too much. I had about 7,000 shares in one account and 500 in the other. So I sold 5,000 shares. I ended up with my usual 2,000 shares. And that's what I have right now. But you can see it's still trending up. I like the money flow. It's now a bit overbought. So I'm happy that I sold the 5,000 shares because it is likely to pull back here. And I don't want to leave so much money at risk. But I love this stock. Even though it's only neutral, it's not bullish, but I still love it. Let's see what else. Here's Workday. I love Workday. I don't own it right now, but since I lightened up on PayPal, I have some cash sitting around, and I could probably buy something like Workday again. But it's becoming oversold, even though it had a nice day on Friday, and I would buy it when it becomes oversold here. So you can see all these other indicators meet the shaken criteria, except that it's neutral, it's not bullish, but sometimes these neutral stocks do perform quite well. You can see it performed quite well, even though it's been neutral all along here. Look at this move. Very nice move. Here's Adobe. I don't own it right now, but I'll be looking to buy it again. See, it's becoming oversold, and it's just above that long-term average. And most of these other criteria are pretty good. I mean, except for the neutral rating, we'd like to see it bullish or very bullish, but it's becoming oversold, and I might take a look at that with some of the cash I now have. Here's American Express. You can see that except for one thing here, it looks pretty interesting. It's oversold, okay? The money flow is pretty good. It's positive. It's now closing above the long-term moving average. And except for the fact that it hasn't been performing as well as the market, the relative strength has been poor or negative, it's now very bullish. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Here's one called Cadence Design. CDNS is a symbol. It's very bullish according to the shaken rating here, and it's outperforming the market. Relative strength is pretty high. It's becoming a little more oversold here, but boy, has it been running, So I'll be a little cautious to buy it all the way up here, above this oversold line here. So I'll be, waiting for pullback if I were interested in it. Here's Visa. I love Visa, but I sold it somewhere in here when it dropped below this long-term moving average. But now it's above it again. It's now oversold on this indicator, but the money flow is pretty good, and the relative strength is picking up. So keep an eye on Visa. And here's MasterCard. Another one last one. And you can see a similar thing here with MasterCard. We have to close, so I'll say goodbye and have a good weekend.